Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with allthingsbbq.com, and this is Carne Asada Cedar Plank Nachos. Today we're gonna fire up the Kamado Joe to get a nice charcoal sear on some marinated skirt steak for our Carne Asada. Then we're gonna line up some cedar planks full of nachos and cheese, throw it all on the grill, and bring it together for this fantastic Carne Asada Cedar Plank Nacho dish. It's gonna be incredible, lots of flavors going on and lots of work to do, so let's get right to it. So here we have about 1.5 pounds of skirt steak. This skirt steak is really great at soaking up flavors and it needs a little bit of tenderization. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this in a marinade. There's not much trimming to do, there's just a little bit of surface fat, but this came pretty trimmed up, so we're gonna go right into the marinade with it. So utilize the 8-quart briner bucket to do our marinating today, and then we're going to be using this Sweetwater Spice Trace Chili's Fajita Bath. So this is a 1-to-1 concentrate. We're gonna add 1 bottle of our Sweetwater and then 1 bottle of water. And if you want, you could throw a couple of steaks in here. You've got plenty of marinade to go around. So we'll give this a good mix. Already smells really awesome. This is an apple juice base, but the number 2 ingredient is salt. So we're kind of working from both a brine and marinade perspective. And then of course, a lot of just great flavoring agents, right? There's onion, garlic, ancho, chipotle chilies. So we're covering everything that we're really looking for in a carne asada. So you want to give that 30 to 60 minutes to really soak up those flavors and start to break down the meat. In the meantime, we're going to fire up the Kamado Joe, start to work on some of the other components of our recipe today. Today we're going to be cooking on the Kamado Joe Classic 3 set up for high heat direct grilling. You can see we've got some charcoal saved from our last cook in here. We're just gonna add to that. Got a nice big hot charcoal bed. This won't be a very long cook, but we do want it to be a very hot cook. So we're gonna get a good bed of charcoal going. We'll nestle in here some of the KJ starters. Fire those up. And initially, we'll just leave this wide open. Now in the meantime, we're gonna make some pico de gallo to go on top of our nachos, starting off with some tomatoes. We're gonna shoot for about 1 cup of diced tomatoes. Got some heirloom tomatoes here, as well as a garden fresh tomato from Justin's garden. We'll go small dice on this. Got my favorite 8-inch Wusthof chef's knife today, and sharpened up just makes super easy work out of this. All right, so we'll go with about 1 cup of tomato there. Next, we're gonna chop down some red onions, nice and fine. Now, if you don't like red onions, you can go ahead and use a yellow or a white. The red and the white have a little bit more bite, but if you like something sweeter, you could go with a yellow. Totally up to you. We're gonna go with about a 1/2 cup of onion to our heaping cup of tomato. Next, we've got a couple of jalapenos. Totally up to you on how you like your heat level. So if you like it a little bit hotter, maybe do 3 or 4. If you don't care for as much heat, maybe just do 1. But I think a couple of these at the right heat level are just about right. I'm gonna mince these down pretty fine as well. Next, we've got some cilantro. We're gonna chop this down to about a 1/4 cup. All right, so lots of bright, fresh stuff going on here. We're gonna add a little bit of citrus to finish this off. I'd say somewhere in the ballpark of 3 tablespoons for what we're doing today, but really we can just kind of taste and see. A little smoked salt to finish that. Give it a mix here. Now this is gonna get better the longer it sits, but we can get a pretty good idea by tasting it right off the bat. If it needs a little more citrus, a little more salt. Wouldn't add either. I think it's really nice right where it is. We'll check on it again later. And maybe you don't need some salt, but I have a feeling that's about spot on. All right, we've given our charcoal a good 10-minute head start here. I'm gonna add in our divide and conquer system. We'll lock that into place. Get our grill grates in here as well. And then we're just gonna open this thing wide open and let it really heat up. So slide that top cap open and your baffle on the bottom as well. And you'll just start to see that temperature climb. We're gonna be going really high heat grilling today. We're talking about around 600 degrees. So if you're cooking on something different than the grill we're on today, say you've got your Yoder, you're gonna take that diffuser plate out, crank that up to 600 degrees. Cooking on a gas grill, you're talking about wide open, burners all the way up. Charcoal grill on even like a Weber kettle, same kind of setup, just wide open, as hot as you can get it. All right, now the pico's chilling out in the fridge. We're gonna put together an avocado crema to top off the nachos. All right, we're gonna start off with 1 cup of sour cream. I'm gonna be blending this up with an immersion blender. If you don't have an immersion blender, you can throw it in your regular blender or even in your food processor. We're gonna add to that the flesh of 1 avocado. All right, so we're just gonna dice up the flesh here and then scoop it out. All right, once we've got the avocado in there, we're gonna move on to our cilantro. I'm gonna shoot for about 1/4 cup of minced cilantro, and don't be worried about if you're getting some stems in there, because those have lots of great flavor in them as well, and we're just gonna be blitzing this up. Next, we're gonna add just about a tablespoon of lime juice. Just kind of thin things out, but also give it that nice tang. And then for our seasonings, we've got a little bit of cumin, as well as a little bit of smoked salt. Let's get that blitzed. All right, so let's give this a taste, and we're trying to kind of keep in mind the flavors that are going to be going on in the nachos in a finished product. So typically with nachos, you can think of some heavy stuff going on. If you got beef and you've got cheese on these fried chips, you want stuff that's gonna lighten it up and complement. So we've got that pico, right? Nice, bright and fresh. Now we've got our avocado crema. Very creamy, great avocado flavor. The cumin hops out at you, so you've got a new sort of flavor being introduced. But it's also gonna cool things down, right? We're gonna have a little bit of heat on our carne asada. So we're trying to think about balance at all times while we're building these nachos. So we've kind of got everything that we need to actually assemble the nachos and get them onto the grill. Next, we're gonna be pulling that skirt steak out of the marinade. We're gonna get that seasoned up and fired off first. So there's lots of great flavor in this liquid that's on the surface. We're gonna leave a little bit of it behind, but we don't want so much on there that it'll wash away our seasoning, just enough to allow it to stick. Now for our seasoning, we're using the Cattleman's Grill 8-second ride carne asada seasoning. Immediately you can see lots of red color going on. That's the chili flake, the chili powder. We've got some salt, some onion, and some garlic in here. We won't go super heavy because this is a thin piece of meat. And we've also got that marinade working, so we don't want to overwhelm it with flavor. Give it a flip. So this should give us a nice little heat, nice little bite. If you prefer something a little bit milder, just go easy on it. It's still got great flavor that you really don't want to miss out on the steak. All right, so that's soaked right up, attached itself to the meat. Let's head over to the grill. Now we're still running wide open on the bottom and top. We're sitting at about 600 degrees. If you need to make some adjustments, say you've got more charcoal so you're hotter, just go ahead and cinch that down, and you guys can use the damper on the top or on the bottom to control stuff, but For the amount of charcoal we have today, wide open is going to work for us. So over direct heat, we're looking to get some nice color on the bottom side before we flip this over, and then we'll start to temp it. But it's pretty thin, so it's not going to take a long time. All right, so we've got some good color going on the bottom side, but I want to get a nice char on the top before we finish the cook, and that internal temperature is creeping up to about 110 right now. So we're actually going to lower our shelves down to make sure that we can get as much color on this as possible. And we'll go ahead and leave the lid open at this point so that we're not trapping heat in here. With the idea behind that being that we allow it to get some char on the outside without escalating the internal temperature. We're gonna try and take the internal slow while we get some color on the outside. Sometimes you just gotta call an audible. You've gotta make a change to the game plan so that you end up with the product that you really want. All right, so we've reached an internal temperature of about 130 now, so we're gonna go ahead and pull this off. And then we're gonna start building our plank nachos while the steak is resting. I've got some corn tortillas here that we fried up for this, but you could use just regular corn chips or fry your own at home, you know, roughly 350 degrees until they're nice and crunchy. We're gonna try to keep these in tight. So we're cooking on the cedar plank today so we get some extra smokiness on our nachos. But anywhere where they hang over the edge, they're definitely gonna burn a bit, so we'll keep them in tight. Now we're gonna hit it with our cheese. This is a queso chihuahua, or a quesadilla melting cheese. So we just kind of smother it in our chihuahua. Now this is kind of similar to like a jack cheese, so if you don't have access to this specific cheese, you could use a jack or a pepper jack or something like that. And the only other thing I want to add for now are some black beans. These are just rinsed, cooked black beans. All right, so we're coming in with our cedar plank nachos. We're back on the top level here with our grates. We're gonna close this up as well as the chimney cap. So what we're doing now is we're trapping all that heat in the dome so that it'll start to melt the cheese from the top. We're also getting tons of heat from the charcoal from the bottom, and those planks have not been soaked, and that's on purpose. We want them to smolder a little bit from the heat from that charcoal. That's gonna add extra smokiness to the nachos. In fact, I can smell cedar already. Yeah, it's already aromatic with that cedar smoke. You can start to see little wisps of smoke coming from the sides. The top's not getting melted just yet, so we wanna make sure we keep this closed. So probably about 5 minutes here, you can see we've got the cheese bubbling all over the place. Just a touch of that browning around the edges. I told you anywhere where it hung off, you're gonna get some of that. But these are perfect. These are ready to come off. Now our skirt steak is rested, so we're gonna get our carne asada sliced up. Sliced and diced. Go ahead and divide this in half to start. Wow, look at all the juice coming out of the end of that. Nice little bit of pink hue in the center. It's just how we want that cooked. So we're gonna come in here, go real thin with these slices. You see these long fibers of muscle running in this direction. So we're cutting at a 90-degree angle across them to cut down those muscle fibers, because that's what really makes this cut appear tough, is when you get to chewing on those long fibers. If you can cut them down nice and short, get a much more tender bite. So that'll just tug right apart in the middle. We've broken down that tissue just enough. Ooh. Flavor's on point. Lots of chili flavor, lots of juiciness. All right, let's get back to it. So once we've got some thin slices here, I'm just gonna go ahead and give this a chop. Small bites spread the flavor out all across the plank of nachos and give you a really tender bite. And let's not neglect all that juice that's collected there in the sheet pan, right back into the meat, and then right here onto your nachos. All right, so we're just gonna heap everything on the top of our planked nachos here. All right, we got our freshly fried corn chips, Chihuahua cheese, some black beans, our carne asada piling up on top, freshly shredded romaine lettuce, got our pico de gallo, next we've got our avocado crema. This stuff is super tasty, so don't be stingy with it. I'm gonna start right up front here and do a sprinkle of cotija cheese. Great funky little salty bite to it. And if you're a fan of heat at all, I recommend just a little bit of smoky hot sauce across the top. The Filet Volcano is fantastic. All right, it's a pretty righteous plank of nachos right there. I say we take a bite. Man, that's dangerous. Like, I'd have a hard time saying no if you wanted to feed me this like 5 nights a week. It's so fresh, so smoky from that cedar. The beef is just on point, just the right amount of heat for me, and I love the creaminess from that avocado crema. This is my kind of food. But thank you guys so much for watching. Do us a solid, head over to allthingsbbq.com where you can pick up all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoyed the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments, or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to allthingsbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.